What a difference. I'm not going to say 24 hours. How about 6 hours, 7 hours? Rally continues after hours. We're going back to all-time highs. Nope. What's the one thing we didn't want to have happen? China retaliates. Trade war on, full on. What will Trump do? Who knows? Keep your eye on your True Social. We're in a tug of war here, folks. Market's coming back, still holding the low. We got a lot to cover. We got earnings to cover. The banks pop and drop. Surprise, Johnson & Johnson has earnings. 8:35. You want to talk about momentum stocks? You want about trading the momos? Then you got to join at 8:35 when T3 Tuesday returns with David Prince. The Empire Strikes Back is the name of today's show. Let's get it started. Pre-market prep.
The volatility right now is really incredible.
Wow, look at that consolidation on the upper right chart.
You know what we've seen this earnings season? Some of these expected moves get even more violent. And this is why I have switched my strategy 10 years ago. And if you're chasing, you're in trouble.
Okay, folks, in the red, well off the high, well off the low, down 58 handles at 66.36. Buck continuing to creep higher here. Oh, we got some consolidation and a quad top up 13 cents, 99.16. TLT showing some life up 30 cents, 90.87. USO, are we finally breaking down? 72, now under 70, down 98 cents, 69.30. GLD just keeps on going, up over a buck, 379.33. SLV, which had been playing catch up, taking a little bit of a breather today, but moving around pretty much flat, 47.11. And Bitcoin didn't rally yesterday. Was it trying to tell us something? Boom, we're down 4,500 bucks at 112,000 in the Bitcoin futures. We'll bring on Triple D, and before we get to the markets and what we're looking at today, we got some sad news. Actually, the news happened on October 7th that a longtime and favorite guest of the show, Fari Hamsy, passed away on October 7th, and we'll never forget Fari and his colorful commentary on the markets. I wonder where his Sigma channels are now, Dennis, but just, want to give a shout out to any Fari fans. I know there was a lot of them out there, and his friends and family. It's going to be sorely missed by the pre-market prep crew and Wall Street as well.
It was a fantastic trader. He had a very unique approach to the markets, very quantitatively and technically driven there. Really, coming on the show, he was just a great person. He'd come on and he'd talk like the Army talk with Captain Tico. I mean, it's a real loss, obviously, for the whole trading community there. And, we just want to give, obviously, the friends and family our condolences and all of his fans because, it's a loss for all of us today. So, R.I.P. Fari Hamsy.
Okay. Yeah. Auntie Jeanette. Remember that? Auntie Jeanette.
He had so many. Oh, yeah. He has just so many things, man. It was fun. He was fun.
Bretzer.
He was a really fun guest.
Did you see, was Bretzer, you going to pop on there for a second?
Yeah. He
What's
remembers
going
Fari.
on?
I wanted to have a segment, and it never passed the committee. You'll be sorry if you don't listen to Fari.
Yeah. Well, it's true.
I was always a fan of that title, Joel.
Yeah.
I wasn't the one on the committee. I'll tell you that.
It was, it's a huge loss for the trading community here. So, we just found out here today. We obviously would have talked about it sooner. This has been quiet. I actually was trying to look at his Twitter, and I couldn't find his Twitter this once. I'm not sure if they took it down or not, the family, but our condolences, and obviously Captain Tico as well. So, fantastic person, fantastic trader. We'll miss him. So, moving into the markets here, one headline, we warned about this on Stock Trader Network last night. We're like, there's one thing that could derail all of this, because we're looking and the market held up very well yesterday, technically did everything you wanted it to do. But we warned about one headline that could derail the move. And that would be escalation between China and the U.S. Yesterday, there was some tea leaves, Brentster, and you were talking about this. There was some sanctions put on. Can you talk just briefly about that? And then we'll get into this headline from last night.
Yeah, sure. So around noon, a little before 12:30 p.m. yesterday, China issues implementation rules on port fees on U.S. ships. China exempts China-made ships owned by U.S. companies from port fees. And this was responding to port shipping restrictions placed by the U.S. on China from over the weekend. This is going back into last week. I even heard like rumblings of this on like Thursday. So we did have indications that at least for overseas shipping, there was going to be some kind of restrictions. All the major publications here this morning are citing a reason China puts restrictions on a South Korean shipper that works very closely with the U.S. And I don't really know if that is the case. That was announced a little bit before midnight in the U.S. Eastern time. We saw another headline here, Dennis. You said it was all over your Twitter. And, we are getting a comment here from an unnamed Commerce Ministry spokesperson inside of China. So the information is a little fuzzy anyway. But we heard a comment late yesterday on the matter of tariff wars and trade wars. China's position remains consistent. If you wish to fight, we shall fight to the end. If you wish to negotiate, our door remains open. If you ask me, that kind of sentiment is what would have started driving us lower here overnight, and I think that's what
happened. Did. Yeah, that commentary spooked the market, and then they were running. Social media ran with that commentary saying that China will fight this war to the end. Funny how they leave out the other part of it, but all through social media we're seeing that commentary here, and that spooked the market. Obviously, we've got Trump. We kind of had a bit of the taco trade on Sunday when he says, "Oh no, it'll be okay with China," but now you get China escalating, and one thing to be concerned about is if you actually have China saying stuff, and again, this is just one side, but if you get China coming out and saying certain things, they typically do certain things. There's not a lot of taco coming out of Xi, so I don't know. I would have that acronym XACO or Xi. Xi always chickens out because Xi doesn't usually chicken out. So you don't want to like fully on piss off China here, because they may not back down. So I think, the next move may be Trump's, because we're seeing Benson talk a little bit this morning here. How does Trump respond if he saw this commentary that we will fight the trade war to the end? Does he re-escalate it because the markets would not like that? Does he back down and again give the market reassurance that no, it's all going to be okay? I think the next move maybe from Trump is what this market's going to want to, see next. And it's all about escalation and de-escalation now. We're back to that again. Escalation, markets tank. De-escalation, markets rally like crazy. Yesterday, we had de-escalation, markets rally like crazy. Today, giving a lot of those gains back because of the re-escalation here. So escalation, again, algos, it's easy. Escalation equals sell, de-escalation equals buy. That's where we're at.
And looking at the thing, and look at the markets in the whole context of the last 2 days, kind of like throw out the low from that Friday after hours, maybe throw out the high from the after hours last night. And, we're digesting. We're still digesting the move. And if you didn't chase yesterday and you thought Friday was the world's best buying opportunity or overnight on Sunday night, then you're getting you're being rewarded. You're being rewarded for, sitting back, not chasing the market yesterday, not trying to pick a top. So, and we discussed this with Kenny. I mean, the low, we're holding the lows. Even this dip this morning did not even get down to Friday's close. So we could talk about that.
I think the dip gets probably bought as long as we don't have more escalation. So again, that is the wild card. We're going to continue to say it. As long as we don't have more escalation here today, this dip likely gets bought. So in the absence of news, the dip gets bought. At a certain point in time, they'll get spooked. One thing I want to give JV some props in the chat, and I know I see the AMD Oracle headline. Everybody's really excited to get to AMD, and it broke at 8 o'clock. And we'll get to that in a second. AMD, if we want just a headline really fast, is Oracle's going to deploy 50,000 AMD chips by 2026, in 2026. That's next year. So CNBC reporting this. We'll get to that there in a second in individual stock news. But just, to talk, the overall macro picture, because right now Certain times there's, stocks, individual stories driving the bus. Right now, the macro geopolitical picture is driving the bus. So we got to start with the driver, and then you start looking at individual stock plays. But right now, the driver matters the most. The driver always matters the most, but the driver is the geopolitical situation. So we need to start there. The one thing that JV pointed out in our STN room last night is like, why is not Bitcoin not rallying? Why did Bitcoin not participate in yesterday's rally? And it really didn't participate much. That was a red flag. We said that, that is a red flag. That is concerning because it's a risk asset. So, now you see Bitcoin, obviously on the escalation here situation between China and the US, selling off substantially here again, making new lows on the move. That is not good because there was a lot of money in crypto. There's a lot of money that, is obviously getting hit here this morning. We know when we saw a 5% fall in Bitcoin the other day, 1.7 million accounts blew out, which is crazy that they're that levered up, that they blow out that easy. Well, now you get another 4% move. You're going to get more accounts blowing out. I mean, again, if you're positioned and you can't handle a 5% fall, your positioning is absolutely awful and you need to stop being a trader. You cannot be that levered up that you can't handle a 5% fall. But Bitcoin is a concern here for the markets overall this morning.
I did notice the lack of participation. Just putting on the, we like to look at the crazy highs and the crazy lows, but important thing, if you're a trader, technical or whatever, is consolidation periods. And you got one heck of a consolidation period here in Bitcoin. Since July, we've held 110 in the futures several times. Several times. I'm trying to see if we dipped under it today. Today we got to 110,500. That's your area. If you're trading this range, then you have to respect that range. Bottom of the range, top of the range. Once again, what happens when you come down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times? Boom, you take out that range. But that's a big area. If the Bitcoin bulls want to remain in control, this 110 level is going to hold. And that's what we're looking at right now here in Bitcoin. Once again, you look at the level and then you see where you close. So let's say we rally today, but we only close at like 112. And then we make another low at 110. I mean, the farther you are away from that area, the better, right? Because you have less to travel. So we're looking at big time support in Bitcoin. Last time Bitcoin came down here, I was doing projections of another, big drop. And it rallied. So we'll see what happens this time, but definitely concerning.
So the headline that broke at 8 o'clock, Oracle Cloud to deploy 50,000 AMD AI chips in 2H 2026. CNBC reporting this. AMD ripping higher on this. If you didn't think AMD was some competition for NVIDIA, you're starting to think it now because we're seeing more and more of this here. NVIDIA is selling off a bit on the headline. And NVIDIA was already down on the headline here, but AMD is rallying substantially as well. In a day that the market isn't killed, AMD would be up $15 on this, but it's not. It's up 5 points because the market has crashed. Obviously, AMD's was down, so it's rallied over 10 points from the lows on this headline because it was down 5 points when the headline broke. So happy to see that. I'm long AMD. It's a huge position in my long-term portfolio. I've been saying if they can get a piece of this this AI chips pie, it's a huge win for them. And I don't think betting against Lisa Su is prudent. She figures it out. So still a fan here, still a fan of AMD. It's holding the gap area, which is good news as well. Obviously, macro picture has, given, the stock a little bit of pressure here as of late, but individual stock news is great. Brentster wants to say something as well. Brentster, you're on mute too.
So the report this morning is from CNBC is for AMD's Instinct MI450 chips. I just want to give a heads up that we knew Oracle was going to be working with AMD for its MI355X chips. We knew that earlier this year, so it seems like the new piece of info here this morning is on those MI450 chips.
Okay. Thank you, Brent, for the color. Stock technicals, Joel, stocks getting a nice lift here on an awful day. We're going to get to the earnings too. It's the most awful day to give good news and reports because you're not getting maybe the pop that the stock deserves. But give us some technicals here on AMD. What are you seeing?
Well, first saying is yesterday's high. We're still $4 away. You $3 away. So I would keep. I mean, hey, if news, technicals, China, whatever going on, if this thing gets back up to yesterday's high after the price action yesterday, that looks like a good number to me as potential resistance. I'm looking at that. This is not following the Oracle script. So for sure, this is not following the Oracle big jump script. So we don't have an exact playbook, but I'm just looking at this. There's been some crazy price action since that news came out, and I'm just looking at that like mid range of this entire area, and that from the low on the day of the news to the all time high, mid range there is like right around 220. I think that's a good number. I think we're going to trade above it and below it before we make our next definitive move. But I like to see the bulls for the AMD bulls up there establishing, like saying, we're going to defend this thing at 220, 220 support, and it's not going down. That could start to happen today with the news. Pre-market high did not get to yesterday's high. So that's what we'll keep an eye on for AMD.
I think if you get a turn in the markets here, AMD is going to be the beneficiary
Leader.
here as well.
Yep.
Yeah, so keep an eye on AMD. Now, interesting here, we know this is like Oracle week. They have this conference going on.
Yep.
So it's very interesting on day one, which is today of the conference here. We get now an Oracle headline here. So I think keep an eye on this conference because what's the name? Do we have the name of the conference, Brinster?
World Day, Oracle World Day.
Oracle World Day. And Oracle World Day is Oracle World Week because it's Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I believe, with the Analyst Day actually on Thursday here. So eventually we're probably going to hear some guidance from Oracle as well, maybe a little bit more color. But I mean, individual headlines from Oracle could be here driving the bus. So as much as the macro geopolitical picture is driving the bus, Oracle from an individual stock story is probably going to drive the bus this week because it's probably not the only headline we're going to get out of Oracle here this morning with this AMD chips.
So on that note, Triple D, at 8 a.m., we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We've gotten 10 Oracle press releases over the last 15 minutes, highlighting a lot of the things that are being announced at the Oracle week. They did highlight that they're going to have their analyst meeting at the end of the Oracle week on Thursday, October 16th. So what I would expect is for us investors to get more details from the actual event, like coming out of the event. I feel like as far as like formal official press releases from Oracle, they might just be dumping them all here on us this morning.
Okay, so we're keeping an eye. There's going to be more headlines happening here as well.
It's called Cloud World. Cloud World.
Cloud World. Okay.
Cool.
Okay, earnings season is upon us. We've been waiting. It's been quiet. There hasn't been much happening here, but we started off with a bang here this morning. Goldman Sachs reporting kick butt earnings. But you know what? One thing we always say about the banks, they like to pop and drop on the good earnings reports. And when you have a day that the S&Ps are down 60 handles, this is the clean setup for the pop and the drop. And that is exactly what has occurred. We were calling the bump and dump, pop and drop, whatever you want to call it. The banks are notorious for it here. Brentster, you're still kicking around. You might as well give us the Goldman Sachs earnings if you have them in front of you here. And they were good. It's just a matter of reporting on the wrong day. And banks like to pop and drop on earnings.
Earnings of $12.25 per share, sales of $15.2 billion. Analysts were looking for about $10.90 in earnings, so sharp beat there. Also sales, they were looking for around $14 billion, so also a nice sharp beat there on the top line from Goldman.
And the stock got the initial lift because the algos just see beat, buy. They don't think about everything else, the whole landscape here of the day, the whole increased geopolitical risk situation, the whole scenario that banks historically like to pop and drop. So what a clean setup for the shorts here this morning. It gets up there to like 795, where there's all kinds of technical resistance just under 800. The ducks were all in a row for the shorts to be there. They're winning. Stock's down 20 on good numbers.
Yeah, you even got, oh boy, 794.66 was your high on Friday. If you talk about a gift from the market gods, oh my Lord. And now you're down, but that's in the rearview mirror. Don't know if we're going back there today, but look how long this stock is traded above the 50-day moving average. You have not been below that since May. You have not had a red candle in Goldman Sachs since March. The bulls are in absolute full control.
Wow.
Tongue in cheek. As long as it holds 760, 156. We're leaking there, but we've seen this before with some of the other charts. That 50-day holds, it holds until it doesn't, and then it acts as resistance. Based on the information we have right now, it's still holding it, and we don't even know if we'll see it in today's session. But that's important level here for Goldman Sachs. That 50-day movement.
I think the dip could get bought here to 764. I think Joel's giving you a good number here, the low from 2 days ago here. Keep an eye on that area, because just as much as that it probably was pretty predictable that this would pop and drop, that after that it gets tricky. So I think, depending on the day, but if we start to get actually some buyers coming to this market, the bank earnings, which are both pretty decent when we get JP Morgan as well, could actually get bought as well. So I don't write them off yet just because it's dipping early this morning. One thing is, they get the pop and the drop, but sometimes you get some people buying the dip too, and we know that's been in this market for a while. JP Morgan earnings here. Brentster, you're still there. We got a super thank you very much. Grove Lane, $20 super sticker. We like that. We'll take the tips. Brentster, JP Morgan us.
Coming right up, Triple D. Earnings 507 beat versus a 484 estimate. Sales also beating around 47 billion. Estimate was for 45.4 billion. Nice, also a nice beat there by JP Morgan.
Stock trading down slightly, but again, the same story. Pop and then the drop. This is best of breed. We are in a situation where banks should benefit, especially if rates are going to start to actually go lower here. I think, the setup here is still potentially to buy the dip and probably in the low 300s for JP Morgan.
And you look at the 50-day moving average, same scenario here, going all the way back to May. You did pierce it a little bit in September, barely. And then, you popped up to the new all-time high. So that's coming in at 301.79. I just think, what does the market do? These are good earnings. We see the pop. We'll see the drop. We're unchanged on today. So, you like to see that. You like to see a gain. It looks like the bulls are kind of ganging up here. Bulls trying to sell. Their bears trying to get short. This 310 area has been just had a lid on this thing going back all the way pretty much for the entire month. So keep actually 310, 312. That's your major sell zone. And then let's just keep an eye. That 50-day moving average, you could had an opportunity of that on Friday. So that's your major support.
Also, Citi reported right at the top of the hour at 8 o'clock here. And Citigroup, wow, we got you there, Brentster. Might as well just keep you there. You can keep beating these earnings because you're saving me the work of it. The Citigroup earnings were good too. So they all were good. The earnings were all good. They're all good. The one thing, and people will often ask this, and we see this, is you get like the sell-off in Goldman on the good earnings. You get the sell-off in JP Morgan. Citigroup's always late to report, and it's their benefit because it's a little bit of seller exhaustion. The banks are like, oh, are we going to do it again, sell the next one off? No, we're going to pull a wild card here. We're going to actually rally this one here. So give us those numbers on Citigroup.
Citigroup reporting just around 8 a.m. Earnings 224, a beat versus 190. Sales 22.1 billion versus 21.1 billion. We'll probably get to Wells Fargo also, but just did want to mention in the context of what you just said, Dennis, remember that we get Morgan Stanley and Bank of America earnings due out tomorrow morning.
Yeah, and the bar could be a little bit lower here now because of the reaction. Remember, it's not about the stock, earnings in themselves. It's about the reaction that the market will compare. So when the reaction is weak, now the bar is all of a sudden a little lower for Citi and maybe a little bit lower for those stocks tomorrow. Now, it depends. If they turn around and start buying, before the Morgan Stanley reports, that can change as well. Tomorrow we get Morgan Stanley and Bank of America reporting, so big reports. And then later in the week, we get some of the regional banks. So, so far, so good for Citi. Holding up well. It was kind of weak coming into the numbers. I mean, we've sold off 10 points here in the last 2 weeks going in. So that's, was a lower bar for them. The question now, though, is, where does it go from here? We'll throw that to Joel.
And we'll stick with the 50-day moving average theme.
Wow, again.
Yes, but Citigroup is a little bit different here because Citigroup did breach that 50-day moving average on Friday. So that comes in at right now. That comes in at $97. Where we traded $97.05. I think it's important. The tug of war here is that 50-day going to turn out just to be the support, buy the dip, or is it going to be a little bit of a turn? And once again, all these stocks coming in right in a row, has not had a red month in the stock. It was red in April, but it has not had a red month in 5 months. Are these banks? Is the market due for some kind of breather? We shall see here. 50-day moving average looming large in all these stocks.
A lot of other non-banks reporting here too. So let's go to a few of these. One, I know I skipped Wells Fargo. Okay, I won't skip Wells Fargo. You got to do them all.
Stay with the script, baby.
I know, but I was getting bored with banks. So Wells Fargo earnings us Brent on Wells Fargo because this one's popping too.
166 versus 154 EPS side of things. Sales 21.4 billion versus 21.1 billion. Not as quite a handy of a beat there out of Wells Fargo.
No, so not as good. It actually dips on the earnings, and now it rips. So maybe the play on the banks is just to fade the initial move here. Because here you got a bank that's actually not as good of a report as some of these other ones here and is up the most. But the initial dip on the earnings was bought. So maybe it's not just the pop and the drop, but it's the fade trade on the initial algo move because they like to punish those news algos.
Do you remember that one day? I can't remember what the news was, but this thing popped at it was up like $10.
That was the stupidest move ever. And what was that headline? Brentster could remember that, but
yeah,
you have the goldfish memory. You always remember all the reasons. But remember, I was saying, I was like, the stock was like 75, and I'm like, I'm shorting this thing at 82, and I short the thing at 82 because I'm like, Wells Fargo should not be up 7 points ever, and especially on this headline. And then somebody points out, Denny, it was just at 85. I was like, I didn't even see it at 85. It was up there for like a millisecond. I'm like, I looked at the tape and I'm like, oh my gosh, it was. Well, I'm like, I'm short at 72 or 82. And then it came back down to 78 and I covered and I was like, it was a quick 4 points. But that was the dumbest move ever. What the hell was that? It was up like a year ago.
Was it like a capital requirement thing?
I think so.
Fed easing capital requirement.
It was something like that. It wasn't a dividend raise, but it was just that could lead to that. But I'm like, up $10 because the Fed's going to go a little bit easier here on Wells Fargo. This isn't like some small little this is a huge big bank here. I mean, they just don't have 10-point moves. Very, very, very rare for that.
10 point. I mean, that's
just news algos getting all antsy in their pants. He can't control themselves and going nuts and giving gift to us traders.
Was it in July or was it farther back than that?
I think it was not even, it might have even been last year. The years fly by now. When you get old like me and Joel, the years just fly by. Like I wake up in the morning and then I literally talk for like a few minutes, it feels like, but it's hours. And then I just go to bed. And the days just fly by. I don't know how they go so fast. I can't imagine when you're 80 years old like Joel, how fast the days must go. They must just fly.
Well, actually, they go slower because they're a smaller percentage of your overall life.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, you can be a lot more productive. Just in an ode to Fari on that day. I don't even know what Sigma channel that was that day. That it went to 85, but that's longer. That's long ago. People don't care about this. Let's stick with it. 50-day. Let's hear the theme. We haven't been below the 50-day since May. Oh no, we did. We dipped a little bit in August, but we got above it. Now we're below it. Now we're above it in the pre-market action. Bunch of resistance here at 81.5, 82. So we'll see what happens off the hop on this. And let's establish a bid here above the 50-day at 80.58.
Last earnings report, and David Prince is right in the background. Yes, T3 Tuesday is back here, folks. So excited for that with David Prince coming in very soon here. I'm just going to go to the J&J earnings report here quickly for you because J&J did report earnings and I don't know if I can get them up. Brentster, my system
Here I
is
am.
blocked up here. Give me those J&J earnings here because
Brentster
I do
saves
have
the
them now.
day.
Yeah, I have them now.
280.
Let's go. Yep.
280 versus 275, 5-cent beat there. Sales around 24 billion versus estimate 23.7 billion. Not quite as nice of a beat there as some of those big banks. Company also announced that they are going to be separating their orthopedics business. They did raise their 2025 sales guidance. We never want to forget about that guidance. Always very important.
So all good news. The algo's bye, but this is Johnson & Johnson, folks. And Johnson & Johnson typically doesn't move much at all, if at all, on earnings reports. It just is a very low beta. It's a slow, steady climber, drug stock / consumer staple stock. And we get the pop, Joel, and it popped big time. Where'd it go to?
You don't want to know.
Just stupidity again, eh? These news out. How the hell do they still run? There's less of them running, though, because some of these ones are terrible. Where did it go?
195.94.
Yeah, way too much for J&J. I know they get all excited. Oh, potential spinoff. This has been rumored here too, folks. So this isn't just coming out of the blue. Now it's giving it all back. With that being said, we are on a defensive day. Defensive days, drugs, staples typically do better. This is a drug and a staple. So I don't think it's going to be like roll over and die Johnson & Johnson, but the initial move has been faded. I'd probably look to see if you get some stabilization here because this maybe the earnings were fine. The separation of the business could be good. I think this could find some buyers here. So I wouldn't rate Johnson & Johnson off for the day.
What a puzzling chart here. Number one, the looming talc 87 whatever billion trillion dollar potential liabilities rallied, right? Sector overall in the dumpster. Right, this is a little bit more diversified. All-time high made last week, not including this pre-market high. Let's see what the Bulls and Bears do at unchanged today at 190.90, and it looks like you got good support here, kind of where we're at right now.
I think so.
Friday's low 188, 188.94.
I'll be looking for potential buy the dips opportunities in Johnson & Johnson today. But without further ado, T3 Tuesday's back. David Prince is here. Brentster, roll that intro.
Hey guys. David Prince. We know him, T3 Tuesday. David, welcome back after a long hiatus. In the intro, I said we're going to talk about momentum markets, and here you are on the screen. David, how you doing today?
Good. Congrats on your new home. I haven't been here since you guys started, so congrats.
I know we were trying to get T3 back, but you guys had your contract with Benzinga and not with PreMarket.
I didn't honestly know. I kept
the politics behind it all. We wanted you guys back. We've been fighting to get you guys back, and we got you guys back here now. So cool. Glad to have you here, David. You know, obviously we've known you a long time. You've been coming on the show with us a long time, and we're going to be glad to have you guys coming back on regularly every Tuesday here. But I got to get your thoughts here, David, because it's been a yo-yo market the last couple of days. Obviously, Trump, driving the market down on Friday. Trump driving the market back up over the weekend. It looks like Xi driving the market down here overnight here again. Does the yo-yo ride continue here? Do we buy the dip? What are we doing? What's David Prince doing?
Okay, so I don't know your guys' thoughts, but my thoughts were that we were set up to go down. Everyone needed a reason. I do not think we're all shocked that there's no deal between us and China, and that there's some tough talk after a lot of quiet time, right? I don't think anyone really expected a deal for a very long time. Some people projected like it'll take years. So I just think it was like right time, right place for him to write such a absurd tweet, and kind of lose his mind for a quick minute. So there was the clear thought by many, including me, that maybe over the weekend it would be the Taco Tuesday type deal, right? And it turned out to be like Taco Friday. I mean, I've never seen an about face in the history of my life. Like, yes. It was crazy. So I literally am kind of playing the situation much the way I play stocks. I'm looking for disconnects where things are broken, making myself available. So Friday night, even though it was a long week, we waited for that 5 p.m. event, right? Which was supposed to be more about pharmaceuticals, drugs, but we all knew like there would be commentary on it. So I said, we got to be here. And I'm not trying to, be too smart here. I'm just going with the leaders. So literally, after a recent huge, one of my bigger calls for me and our group was AMD recently. We finally got that pullback, and then Friday night, as that news came, AMD came into 207s, and the Qs tapped the 50-day. And what's everyone's favorite infrastructure play outside of the big guys? Well, it's Iron, in my opinion. It traded 50. So what I do, I bought AMD 207s, I bought Iron 50. I'm not smart, so I literally that night it traded 58, so I was done. I missed the next 7. AMD still in. But I'm looking for disconnects in companies I like and trying not to overdo it with the market. In other words, I didn't buy the Qs. So I don't think there's such a deal at 584, sure, versus 600 they are, but really underneath the surface per usual, because that's where the alpha's coming from. I mean, check this one out. There's a guy on Twitter, right? This will just tell you how you can play the indices for, he's probably a well-known trader for all I know, but I follow him. Nice, seems like a nice guy. He put up his portfolio yesterday. He's been holding Apple for like 15 or 16 years. He is up 5,000%. Do you know what stock he's up more in, and he owns it for 1 year?
Probably one.
Apple. 17 years of owning Apple. He owns it for 1 year.
And one stock he's up more in. Is it a big
company? RGTI.
Joel, you should know this. Joel's
You said it already.
I'm bad at guessing games.
You said it already.
It's RGTI.
Oh, RGTI. Oh, I didn't hear it. I know it's not. RGTI has just gone berserk.
Right. With such extreme volatility, that's what I'm doing. Just looking at these different sectors. For me, it was AI like everyone else. But rare earth, I really believed in as well for the last few months, actually. And really focusing in on sectors. And when they pull back and give us opportunity, that's what I'm doing. I should mention Friday, I literally, as that happened, I had some AMD left over. I was an aggressive buyer that week, 203 through 207. Sold most into 239. Started buying it back as it pulled back to 225s on Friday. And I said, guys, we're early here as the news came. So guys, take a loss. This could easily be back to 200. And got out of my AMD and really went flat a lot of positions as a trader would. Not long-term stuff. I didn't sell like Immunome that I owned for 2 years.
Sure.
And what I did is I said, there's one stock I'm comfortable buying. Buy the F out of MP. If it goes through 80, it's going to 100. And I literally, I'm not trying to show off. I'm sure a lot of people said that. I said,
yeah,
add to MP, and that's what we did. So that was like the one major buy, and then that evening I bought AMD and I. And now, yesterday, I was like, listen, I don't feel FOMO. We made our buys Friday night. We had the MP, and we'll wait. But my thought is that was the beginning of more volatility. I've been saying this yesterday, not because we're down today. I just think we needed a reason. We finally got a reason. We're expensive. I'm not going to try and call a top in the market, but we're expensive. There's signs of a bubble in quantum. There's some rare earth companies that'll never have a deal that have like upside down balance sheets. We know, like, I don't know about you guys. I get it. This is nothing like 2000, right? This is real revenue and the demand's there, and most people still can't meet the demand via their supply. But OpenAI is controlling the world. They're creating hundreds of billions in market cap. So there's no way to say like, this is the beginning. I'm sorry, it's not. Now, that doesn't mean we don't have 6 more months. And as I always tell people, the last part of a bull market, whether it lasts 3 months or 6 months, is usually more exciting and bigger in profits and gains than the first 3 years. So I'm not trying to call a top. I just know it's dumping time. It's totally insane. But that doesn't mean it can't continue for a long time.
Well, how do you approach it though? Do you just like start like getting out of everything in your long-term account and just trade? Like trading's different than investing always here. Like is it like start raising cash in your long-term positions because it's just overdone?
I am waiting till that moment happens. I'll give you an example. MBIS has been a long-term position, and we got pretty aggressive after their deal in the 80s after they had signed that deal. I thought, okay, moment of rest, but this is very much the beginning of a new move. So as it went to 100 and they signed that big Microsoft deal, I said, listen, they're going to have to raise capital. I mean, they're on the hook for a lot of product here. There's no way. So I'm old, so I know how the street works. So they raised capital, and sure enough, the stock came in. So now we can buy the hell out of it. And for 3-4 days, it went back and forth from like 86 to 92, 136. Now, maybe I'm a ditzy idiot, but if you can make 50% on your money, and by the way, less than 3 weeks, to me, I don't care if it was long term. It was no longer long term last week, and at 136, I got flat. And I said, hey, if it pulls back towards the 20-day or the 50-day, I'd be great. It's probably not going to 50. And that's how I'm playing my positions I'm not married to, versus an Immunome, which is a company, just fair recognition. I backed the company pre-IPO and know the CEO well. Guy who runs it is one of the most important people in biotech. He's the guy who founded Seagen, and Seagen was bought out, as we know, for well over $40 billion. And now he's running a company with less than $1 billion market cap. Stock was, one of my top calls, I would say 6 weeks ago, because biotech was left for dead. And I said, listen, there's no way this isn't going to play catch up. So am I selling that because of the market? No, I think this is 30, 40, 50 long term. Do I trim some that I bought like at 5 and 6 in April? Yeah. So long-term positions I'm not getting out of, but some positions I thought that were long-term, they go up 50%. I'm fine.
Hard not to take a 50% profit in 3 weeks.
Yeah. I don't know about you guys. If you're like, I'm in this for 2 years. When people say, what's your target 2 years from now? I go, I don't effing know what happens in 2 years. So I go by price, not time. And that's really how I'm doing it. So I love Rocket, right? RKT.
Yeah.
Huge position for me to 11 or 13. I believe there'll be a bull market in housing again. Yeah. I don't think it's now. I'm very bearish the housing market, bullish Rocket long term. So that's a stock where I really sold a lot into 2022 recently, because we had that wild move. And now I'm sitting on a position. And if it ever pulls back, I believe with rate cuts, it'll be one of the best positions in the history of housing, right? And really lending. So there's a long-term position I will buy on weakness that right now looks as ugly as a dog.
Yeah. I'm with you, though, on Rocket, because interest rates, we know, are going down next year. We know the Fed chair, the next one, is going to be dovish. So, I mean, regardless of even if inflation starts to come back, they're going to start talking in whatever way to bring interest rates down. And what company benefits more from interest rate cuts than RKT? So, I mean, it's a nice setup for 2026.
And they really own the customer now, right? All those acquisitions, like that was some strategic thinking. I really am impressed. Hopefully it'll work out the way I think. I think they're going to own the customer right now, right? They're going to keep going back for more money and different things. Yeah, I'm excited about that. Otherwise, like, what am I doing? I'm waiting for a pullback like today. Yesterday I was selling. I didn't have FOMO, right? I was selling AMD at the open at 223, 224. And today I plan to buy some back. I'm still long, but I plan to buy some back. And then this Oracle announcement, I don't know if I'll get so lucky.
You may, though. It's starting to leak it back, and I think it sets up better, actually, when a company has good news and the whole market's trying to bring it back in here. You get that shot at, the low 212, 215, 216, and the company has all of a sudden another 50,000 chips they're going to sell through Oracle here. I think the macro sell-off here gives us an opportunity maybe for some of those stocks.
I have a thought, and I'm really curious your guys' opinion. I think ARM might be giving us a hint that there's a little bit of exhaustion of OpenAI deals. It was up 14, 15 last night. It's up $1 and change right now. And this is the 49th deal between OpenAI and a top tech company in the last 7 days. But maybe there is some exhaustion, and I'm hoping that happens with AMD and I get a better price to add into the position. So we'll see. But I think there might be a little bit of OpenAI exhaustion at the moment. I mean,
what was the stock you just mentioned?
ARM Holdings. ARM Holdings. They had a deal last night, Joel, and the stock popped like one. It went nuts. It goes like 171, and the algos just go nuts, and it's 180, 185, 180. I was like, man, we're just in, they just can't stop. But to David's point, it's a fantastic point he's making is we're getting open AI deals, it seems like every day. At a certain point in time, the buyers just get exhausted with that. There's you can't have, open AI popping a stock 25% every single day. So
I always say when stocks go down on good news and go up on bad news, those are two of the most important signals I've used for the last 30 years. It'll probably be the same thing, right? Eventually, I'm not saying it'll be the end, but it'll be a moment where a correction's due, and we'll start to see these deals, and the stocks will end up red. Kind of like NVIDIA having a blockbuster earnings report, but going up 50% into the print and then down. We'll probably start to see that, and I'm just wondering, I looked at ARM, I go, is that the start of that? So we'll see.
David, you mentioned the biotechs. You mentioned that stock. I just wanted to get your overall take on the biotech market. Interest rates, obviously, working in their favor. Looking at the IBB, the XBI. Do you think that this, let's say we do go into a correction in the overall market with the Mag 7, some other things, they're always buying something, right? Do you think that maybe it's the biotech sector, even in a flat to sideways market, the money will be moving into the biotechs?
Well, I had a target, publicly I would write about it and say 103. We're going back to 103, right? By the end of the year. And I said, rather than play it, really, I know this company so well, Immunome is where I'll be aggressive.
Okay.
So under 10, it was under 10 a couple of weeks ago. I was an aggressive buyer, and in April, a lot lower. In terms of XBI, pre this recent 10, 15 point move, it was on a 5-year basis flat, literally flat to death. I mean, one of the worst performing sectors in the history of the world. Maybe not quite cannabis-like, but you get the idea. So I'm thinking, right, just as a betting man, with so many of these big healthcare companies dying for growth, I've been kind of singing this song a long time, but it makes sense, right? And let's just say the weight loss sector, I don't want to say overdone, but a little bit abused where it can't keep carrying the space. I think there'll be a lot more acquisitions. I think if rates are low, it certainly helps create some takeovers. And after 5 years of underperformance, it seems like a decent place for some funds to look for some outperformance. So as a betting man, after 5 years of a disaster kind of relationship between XBI, honestly, IBB too, biotech as a whole, versus the rest of the market, it makes sense to me, right? It's not expensive. A lot of these companies are in pretty good shape. The issue I have, there's a lot of dead weight in XBI. Just companies that will, during the Cathy 2021 space, I think there's a lot of stocks in that index that create dead weight that will never come back regardless of the market, right? There's the TGTXs, the Immunomes that move with it. And then there's a good 1,000 companies that are dead forever. And I wonder, I don't know, I've never done a study, but I feel like it's a permanent weight. And sometimes I always say go to ARC or something in the small cap arena. Doesn't she have a bio focus? I think she does. ARC, one of the ARC funds. So I always wonder if XBI just has some dead weight. Bottom line, I think it maybe has a shot to outperform. After 5 years of not doing so, makes sense to me.
Yeah, David, as ARKG is what you were thinking of, the genomic. Yeah.
One more thing before I let you go here. Just looking at the, the dynamics of the markets, how we progressed this year, the, incredible gains, turmoil out there. Just give us a level. I don't know if you want to use the Qs, if you want to use the S&Ps, or maybe not so much the IWM, but where, this bullish thesis could take on some water.
So I look at the Qs, right?
Okay.
And pretty simple math. If we were to have less than a 10% correction, 8-9%, we get below the 50-day, right? We actually get closer to something like 560-ish, right? It's actually, I don't know. I'm guessing off the top of my head, it's probably an 8% correction. Break the 50-day, create a flush. Most of us old timers know that there's a 10% correction once every year, right? Sometimes even twice. Since April, I feel like we've had two bull markets in one and no corrections. So that's where I get excited. On the upside, I don't really have a number except to simply say, I don't think that way. I'm not a big SPX trader, just being honest. Like I almost never buy SPX. The way I look at things is I can see the Qs going to 625, 630 by the end of the year. The ideal scenario for me is a break here, a pullback, watch out some sellers, happy holidays, Thanksgiving rally, Christmas rally, and then watch the F out in 2026. That's kind of my ideal scenario. I don't really have a target on Qs. I just know that the market as a whole is expensive here. I don't care how powerful the AI theme is. There's a lot of these companies that are being propped up by the theme that probably will not benefit the way the stocks were saying. I know quantum's not a great sign. I know when every rare earth company in the world triples and quadruples overnight, it's not a great sign. I know when Chamath does a SPAC, which he did, it's not a great sign. I'm not trying to be funny, right? So I'm not so excited. I'm excited about individual equities. Like we bought MP, literally it was 2 months ago. It corrected from 85 to 60. Into the 50-day, you have an identifiable average to like buy against. And I bought the hell out of it, right? I sold most when it was back at 80, but still, the thing's over 100 this morning at one point. So that's what I'm looking at, less the indices. But I can see the Qs going up another, 20, 30 points easily because I know the way this happens. Often the last part of a bull market, even if it's 6 months, can be in an index another 10, 20% like that.
Yeah.
So
David, welcome back to Pre-Market Prep. We sorely missed you. You can follow David on Twitter at Epic Trades One, giving us a technical and fundamental outlook on the markets. David, great to have you back, and we'll be dialing you up again. How about next month?
I would love it. Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much, David. Great to have T3 Tuesday back. We missed it. And also great to have our high sponsor.
Wait, one more thing.
Wait.
We also, part of working with T3, are going to be having T3 traders in the STN room. And we had Sammy Abasad on yesterday showing us some of his trading after 10 o'clock. So that was a welcome treat. So another added benefit of joining the Stock Trader Network.
Want to pop in with a word from our sponsor, Hive Digital Technologies. Hive Digital Technologies is a global leader in green power data centers for Bitcoin mining, high performance computing, and AI operating with nearly 0.5 gigawatt of renewable energy. Hive is on track to capture 3% of the world's Bitcoin production by the end of this year. Scan the QR code in the bottom right corner of your screen right now, or there is a link in the description of this YouTube video. You can find more info on Hive Digital there. And also, we do have the chart on screen if you want to take a quick little look. Thanks again to our sponsor, Hive Digital Technologies.
Awesome. Thanks, Brentster.
No problem.
Yeah, stock obviously been pulling back here with Bitcoin. It's going to move with Bitcoin overall. IBIT not having a great morning. Hive down here this morning with Bitcoin too. Yeah, Bitcoin, Joel. I mean, we talked about right off the hop. It wasn't participating in yesterday's rally, and that was concerning. And now we get it leading the charge down here. Not saying the Bitcoin rally is over by any means. I'm still hodling in my long-term account, but Ethereum is down here as well. Just a little bit of cooling period. I mean, buyer exhaustion and some of this, it's been a pretty good year for Bitcoin. It's been a pretty good year for Ethereum. It's been, an okay year for some of these altcoins. Some of them have lagged, but some of them coming back up here too. So, I mean, maybe just a time for pause or time to be concerned. What do you see in the technicals of Bitcoin?
I'm just looking at this 110 area, which was the low last month. But then, I'm seeing 3 monthly lows at 108,000. So, that's a zone. And that's just been holding up since July. So, You know, you can't say 110 to close over 110, you know, the world is over with. But I mean, 3 monthly lows in the same area, and last month low was higher. So the onus is on the Bitcoin bulls here. 108, 110. We'll be following this story for the remainder of the month when Frank Holmes comes on. Also, Louis Seiss is going to be joining us next month, so we'll continue with Crypto Corner here. But just a setup, and you know, we're kind of seeing the same setup in Bitcoin. We looked at all these bank stocks. Thing about Bitcoin is it's lost. It had the 50-day. It lost the 50-day. It got above the 50-day. I don't know. When I put a 200-day moving average on this chart, folks, that means we got to look out below. I'm still sticking with the 50-day though right now.
You know what stock, really wants to move higher? I still think, in my opinion, here is, we had the, exec on yesterday's NKLR. It's holding up really well here this morning. I'm long it in my longer term account. But again, it was up to almost 20 last night and then the rug pull here, but holding on, not down. And it's funny, we have the exec on. The stock actually sold off after the interview, like sold off pretty substantially here. But then in the afternoon, I think this is just a story that not a lot of people know about this name. Like it just came out. It's 2 days ago. It switched from a SPAC from GSRT to NKLR. But, it's this nuclear story here. Obviously we were asking comparisons. I think they're closer to NNE than maybe Oclo or SMR. But the nuclear story has been so hot, and you got a cool ticker symbol, NKLR. I like the move yesterday afternoon. I'll just say that. I really like that move from yesterday afternoon. And my price target originally when I got in this thing, we got down in it, we started buying in the 10s when it was obviously still GSRT. And then it converted over, and I bought a little bit more in the 11s. My original target was 20. Like I was like, I think this thing could hit $20. It did hit it briefly in the pre-market the one day and tried to get up there last night. I think that's a resistance point. But I'm starting to think with the way the nuclear names have moved here, if you get any type of move back up, and the market's going to hold it down today, like it's not a good day for, stocks, but it feels like it wants to go higher. So keep an eye on this name, NKLR. I'm going to stay long.
I don't see how you can come up with any resistance in this.
Well, yeah, new all-time highs.
Yep.
So, I mean, targets are there for like, okay, well, where could you possibly go? I mean, it's hard to give a target on this thing at all. But I mean, just, with the nuclear name, with the NKLR ticker symbol, with volume starting to pick up here, it just kind of adds up. So I just, wanted to like everybody, we've been talking about this in the Stock Trader Network room, but I like to talk to pre-market prep about, ideas as well. And I still think like the technicals are starting to look pretty good on this one. Keep an eye on this name. That's all I'll say is keep an eye on this name.
Why didn't they go with NCLR?
I don't know. Do you think NCLR is better than NKLR? I know the spelling of it, but like you got symbols like NUKK, like people like the K.
They do. So. Okay.
And I don't know. I think the ticker symbol is awesome. I think honestly,
I do too.
I think a good ticker symbol in a storied stock can carry a stock a long way. I really do. So like we were talking about this, for the last couple of months, really, like when it was GSRT, and saying eventually when this goes NKLR, people are going to start taking note, and that's kind of happened. And it's a great point here. Like a lot of these companies are pre-vendor, and C is making a good point. It's on the screen. No customers, no revenue. Yeah, this is a new one. So you don't have any valuation support on these. These are speculative names. But you look at Oclo, same story with Oclo, folks. No revenue. Stock has went from, just comparing these nuclear names, from $5 to 171 yesterday. So this energy story / nuclear story is not going away. So you can jump on all these things and say, yeah, I want to invest in real revenue. I want to invest. But if you were just, going with the bigger guns, you're not having any Oclo type moves. So sometimes, when these companies are just getting started and just getting going, and obviously they're ways away from having revenue. So you can't look at this from a valuation perspective at all. You're trying to look at, what they could potentially do. But if they can do the stuff that the exec was talking about yesterday, there's a potential for the stock to move. So, I'm just giving trading ideas out there. NKLR still looks pretty good to me. Sticking with it. 1 minute left. Imbalanced look. There is not much here happening, but we are obviously to the sell side here on stocks. Basically across the board, tech's getting a beating. We knew that would likely be happening. AMD is your outlier because of the Oracle news. I would keep an eye on AMD today. I think AMD can lift. I do think that news was good news for them, and I think people are starting to pay attention that, oh, AMD is going to be a player in AI chips. So that's kind of how I'm approaching. I think the dip could potentially get bought, but you got to stick with headlines. I know we had this EU headline a few minutes ago. If you want to know why we were flushing during the David Prince interview, Bloomberg piece at 8:44, EU considers forced tech transfers for new Chinese investments. So I'm not sure exactly what the hell that means, but market sold off on it. So, I mean, you got a little bit of China versus, everyone else here happening right now here. So keep that in mind. The China and the Xi Trump headlines are going to continue to drive the bus.
Well, tomorrow we'll have CPI data. No, we won't. That won't be until October 24th. But we're still going to have our boy Blue on. Blue Putnam will be joining us at 8:35 a.m. And he just did an extensive paper on tariffs and the short and long-term impact of tariffs. So don't forget to join us at 8:35 a.m. tomorrow. Let's buy the dip in here, right, folks? Down 63 handles on news that we've kind of already had. So thanks for joining us here on PreMarket